Welcome to the Eussen Designer Speaker Series with Billy Boo College of Design at Torrens University. Today we're speaking with David Crook from International Floor Coverings. Welcome, David.
Hi John, how are you?
Very well, great to have you here. David, you've been in the design industry for, I'm going to say a number of years. I can say a number of decades almost. I won't put a name on it, but I know you've been in the design industry for a long time.
A long time.
Both working on residential homes, high-end residential homes in Australia, as well as abroad. How did you get started in the industry?
Oh, I started, a long time ago, 40 years ago now.
So we are naming it, 40
years.
We
are naming it. I started installing and doing my trade with difficult floor coverings, but and in that, the start of the use of plant fibre in carpets was just coming to the fore, very, very infant in its start, and I got a bit of a passion for it. I was only very young then, I was only 16, so it was all new to me. And from there I've built that passion. I moved from England to Australia, that was nearly 30 years ago now, and it was very, very new in Australia then, and I could see there was a definite market for the woven natural carpets, and because I'm very passionate about the nature side of things and the sustainability even back then, but never pushed it. It was just my own personal journey, shall we say. That's where I started, to look at the importation of different fibres into the Australian floor covering market.
Right. Now, International Floor Covering, it is one of the most prominent floor covering companies in Australia. And I know that you specialise in sisal. Tell us what sisal is.
Sisal is actually made from the agave cactus plant. Very useful plant, really, because we drink tequila. Tequila's from the same plant. It's very, very hard wearing. It's great for people with allergies because it's got a natural antimicrobial benefit to the fibre that's inherent in the fibre, which means that it repels dust mites. And everyone lives with allergies these days. We've all got some kind of allergy.
It's funny you say that. Either we're becoming more aware of it, or we seem to be increasing. People seem to be increasing, I guess, the amount of allergies that are around. So when you say that it eliminates the dust mite or repels the dust mite, traditionally I think that people with allergies used to think hard surfaces were the only option because you could vacuum the dust up. But what you're saying now is this carpeting concept with sisal is appropriate.
It is, because two things. You've got the antimicrobial properties of the fibre, and then you've got the weave of the product. So all the products I sell, and I specialise in flat woven carpeting, which means it's all knitted just like your clothing, whereas standard carpet is tufted, where it has a pile. So the dust that generally forms in our houses, and it is becoming more and more prominent, and we are becoming more aware of those issues, but the dust that forms in the house sits on the surface of the carpet. Now, in normal carpet, in 99% of the carpet on the market, when you walk on it, you compress the fibre and the dust sits below the pile. And the vacuuming, you just can't get it all out. With a flat woven carpet, it's knitted like your clothing, and the dust sits on the surface. So regular vacuuming will keep it dust free.
You mentioned that part of the inspiration, the design process, has always been nature with yourself. Tell us about that connection.
The connection, I think, as a young kid, I spent a lot of time in hospital. I was quite a sick kid. And always looking out the window, always looking at the trees, always wanting to be outside because I was stuck inside. So the older I get and the more I reflect, I think that's where it comes from, by being cooped up. And then, as I've gone through life and I've researched and I've come across different things, it's just become a passion for me, because it's different too. You go back 30 years and all the carpet was fluffy and it was sculptured and highly designed and highly decorative and like garish, and then you get this lovely kind of natural weave, even though it was quite rough at the time because most of it was made from coconut fibre back then.
So originally, so the composition has changed over the years.
Yeah, well, effectively, the coconut fibre has been made into carpet for hundreds of years. Most of the ships that came here, right, with the first convicts and all that on, had runners in the ships because it stopped slippery, wet surfaces on the timber. And most of that was either made out of rush, like a reed, or coconut fibre, because it was hand spun and then kind of knitted together. All right. I think if you think of how they used to get goods onto the ship, that was all coconut fibre. That netting was all woven from that. So it's been around for a long, long time. It's just it was never used in a house. Right. It was always seen as a commercial thing.
David, you've worked on some amazing residential and international projects, and I know that you've spoken about that before. But tell us, what's one of the most memorable?
I suppose the most memorable project I've done would be James Packer's first wedding, where we were asked to, they literally built, from memory, I think it was 4 marquees in a property in Bellevue Hill in Sydney here. And these were massive, massive marquees. And I've done marquees before, but this had to be done. This had to be laid just like laying the carpet in your house. So I had to put underlay down. The whole thing was done properly, and it was an amazing experience. I think we did a 10 by 30 meter marquee, another 10 by 30 meter marquee. They built a staircase which was 2.5 meters wide down to another one that I did. Off the side of that was another one which I did half of it for, and that was for the entertainment, which I think Elton John was there practicing when I was doing that, which was quite special. And then they actually put another one in their tennis court where they got married.
Right, so it's a purpose-built venue.
It was a purpose-built venue, and very, very unique, very special. Quite privileged to do that.
I can imagine. So what happens to the flooring afterwards?
Well, the reality was that I relayed, I would say, 60% of that carpet in the workers, the people that worked on the site and afterwards that took it up in their houses.
Oh, so it was reused.
It was all most of it was all reused or reworked over the next 18 months or so. So I kind of relayed it a couple of times.
Yeah, because I can imagine. I mean, obviously it would have a bit of wear and tear, but really it's just it's literally for a 6-8 hour gig. And then it's all gone. Yeah, amazing. So what about commercial work? What sort of areas have you worked in the commercial market?
Well, over the years, I've done a lot of commercial, but bespoke showrooms. High-end developments tend to be where I go. I don't tend to do the big blocks of, massive units. I don't get involved in those kind of things. So I tend to be more bespoke. Because the products that they sell they're very, very hard wearing. They're all commercially rated. Harvey Norman here have used Sizewell for years, up until just quite recently, in the last few years, where they've gone mainly tiles. But that's where we go. Yeah.
So the product itself, in the design process, it's a combination of wool and Sizewell on various different materialities. Is that correct?
Well, you can get those combinations. So you can do wool and Sizewell. I do flax, which is linen and wool woven together. There's a product that I actually sell from made in Switzerland. That's wool and stainless steel. That's woven together. Amazing machinery to do that, especially when you consider the tensions between the two fibres.
Yeah, and clearly for commercial work that would be ideal, wouldn't it?
But it's because it's expensive. It's definitely residential because of but it's stunning. Yeah.
Tell us about the Abaca. The Abaca, I know that it's throughout all the Ralph Lauren stores here, and it has an amazing texture. Tell us about that.
Abaca is made from the banana fibre plant. and it's a graded fibre. So what they do is they take the tree of the banana fibre plant and they pull it apart and they grade the fibre into different colours from the outside of the tree right the way into the middle. And from them, they weave it into rugs, and we make it into rugs. You can actually get carpet made form as well, but I don't really do that. They tend to make more jacquard weave carpets from it. So yeah, it's very highly textured, very thick, well, again, with Ralph Lauren, they have their own special weave that we get made for them, then we actually border it with leather for the Australian market, and that's to do with OH&S and the size of their shops. When you go to America and you go into a Ralph Lauren's store in America, they're big stores. So the rugs, they've got plenty of walk space, and over here the stores are smaller. So therefore you've got to have a little bit of a definition for the transition between one surface to the next because of the OH&S. But they actually look very good with the leather border.
Yeah. Gosh, you've certainly worked with some great names. Nature, you've mentioned, and the product is very natural in its appearance and also in its feel. The Naturalis wool, tell us about that.
Yeah, well, that came over across my desk, shall we say. That was probably about 4 years ago, and it's completely different to the look of the feel of the wool, because it is a fluffy wool. But why it sits with the philosophy of the company, it is actually a woven Wilton, and so that's the highest end of the carpet manufacturing process, and very rarely done now. And the wools are all chemical free because it's a graded wool fibre. A bit like I was talking about the Abaca plant where they grade the fibre when they pull the tree apart. Well, what they do with the wool is that they take wool from many sheep and grade it together to get the colours. Now we in that particular range, the Villa Naturalis range, we have 4 colours, graded colours, and it's an 80-ounce Wilton. So I'm getting technical, but it's an overkill for carpet. You don't need that weight. You know, you can put
highly
it in,
durable.
Highly durable. You can put it in any casino in the world because it will just wear forever. But where it comes to the floors, it's just luxurious. It looks stunning on the floor.
And the colours, you mentioned, it's not dyed. It's actually the colour that comes off the sheep back.
That off the sheets, almost like out of the paddock, you know. And because there's no dye in it, you get all the lanolin, the natural lanolin of the wool. So it's the stain resistancy to it is amazing. For the fire regulations, most wool carpets here, you would get what they call a CRF of around somewhere between 5 and 6, which is very, very good. Well, with that, because there's no chemicals in it, it's 11. It's just unheard of. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you specialise in custom rugs as well as wall-to-wall. What are some of the common mistakes people make in the sizing of rugs?
Well, too small, you know, and I mean, obviously standard sizes have their place. That's what it is, and you can go anywhere and get a standard size rug, whether or not you're looking for a cheap rug from, say, Harvey Norman or because it serves a purpose. IKEA, fine. Or you want to go to a hand knotted silk, 1,000-point silk rug. They've all got their standard sizes. And they look fine, they look good. But where I come from, again, it's slightly different, where the rugs we make are all custom sized. So I like bigger is better.
So almost oversize the rug.
Oversize the rug, even in a small area, because it lifts the area, makes the area look bigger than what it is. You put a small rug in front of this coffee table, it actually draws you in, it makes it look small because you're focusing on a little thing. You put a rug, outside the perimeter of where we're sitting here, all of a sudden the space becomes bigger.
It almost frames the area.
It frames the area and it makes it a destination point.
Yes, it makes sense. What about, if somebody's starting the design process, Where do they start from a flooring concept? Where do you begin?
Where do you begin? I think this is where I have normally an argument with an interior designer.
Do tell.
I think some kind of practicality has got to be taken into consideration, because people tend to forget they'll spend $20,000 on their curtains and they won't want to spend $10,000 on their floor covering because they've, sometimes it's a budget thing as well, because obviously you overextend and we all do it. But you walk on your carpet all the time. You don't move your curtains all the time. So there is a practicality to it.
Sure. And what are some of the common mistakes that people make in flooring selection?
Putting white carpet on a staircase.
White carpet on a staircase. Okay. Right. That seems fairly obvious to me.
That's right, but people do it.
Right.
And it looks fabulous for 5 minutes, and then they spend the rest of their life cleaning it and trying to keep it. Right. So, so.
Is it fair to say neutrals are more common?
Oh, in my area, and I think, warm neutrals are definitely, and texture, very, very popular, and have been popular for years, because it gives you a nice base to work from. Yourself, if you're the designer or you're doing it yourself, or you've got the interior designer involved, where they build from it. So you have your wall colour and your floor covering colour, and then you build from that.
Why do you think? I mean, Sisal it's your specialty, and I know that it's incredibly popular here in Australia. Why do you think that is?
I think it's popular because of we live outside here. Australia lives outside, so we try to bring the outside in. Like, we've had many conversations about the fifth room, where you're living in your al fresco. You buy a house these days, or you build a house, you put in an al fresco in it because you want to be outside.
That's true, actually. I like the way you bring that up, because the fifth room is now what we used to call the outside, or it used to be the veranda.
That's right.
But it's now an important part of the home, and I like the way you bring that connection from the nature, outdoors, indoors, and that's the transition point.
Well, I just finished building a project home. I just did knock down and rebuild, and I redesigned the house from outside in, because I live outside. I like to be outside. But so going back to why we like Sisal, I think we like Sisal in Australia, it's that point. By bringing nature inside, you get the texture and you get the toning, and you get the added health benefits. Sure. But in saying that, if it wasn't for Europe and America embracing Sisal, then we wouldn't have it here, because our demands are so small that unless, say for instance, every second year I go to Europe, and there's a big floor covering fair in Germany, coldest place in the world, horrible, in January. And I might like a particular sample, say it's pink and blue spots, and I think, wow, that's going to sell bucket loads in Australia, and I want it. Unless it's accepted by the Europeans and the Americans, we can't have it here.
It's a numbers game.
It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. And going back to, the bringing nature inside, in Europe especially, they're enclosed always, they only get 3 months of the year where they can really be outside because of the summer. Sure. Wow. So they're bringing the nature element inside, the health benefits, the texture, the colour, and that's why. Yeah.
Do you think, as from a design perspective in Australia, do we follow trend from overseas, or do you think we create our own?
I think it's a mixture. I think it's a mixture. I would say that we follow American mainly, then European. That's where I would say we come from a little bit. I'm no expert on that, and I'm sure I'll be shot down in flames by.
Well, it's your industry. It's how you see it to be.
That's what I see it.
You can only respond accordingly.
Yeah.
So I guess that we're from those two influences, we're creating our own look, aren't we?
We are creating our own look. Hamptons has been a very trendy word for many years, following the Hampton style. But we're elaborating on that and putting the Australian slant on that. And, you know, we've got some very, very good interior designers and architects in this
It's almost a
country.
more relaxed Hamptons feel, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's not so, I wouldn't say sophisticated, but, you know, formal. I think you take that formality over it, it just softens it a bit.
Yeah. David, thank you for sharing your story today, and we look forward to hearing about where international floor covering goes in the future.
Thanks very much. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
You make me